So I have two more questions for you. And those ones are really related to the times we are right now in, with the social, distancing, isolation we're living. And the first one is about adults. It's really for adults. And how can eurythmy or therapeutic eurythmy support, the educators, health professionals, students of anthroposophy, and parents in these times we are in right now?
Yeah, you mean this delicate question. No, that was your fourth one, that I do not mix it up. Because the fourth one, we could maybe even combine.
Yes, we could.
Maybe you could bring it as well, because then I can bring it together.
Mm-hmm. So the other one was about the children at the school, because worldwide there's cuts of eurythmy, therapeutic eurythmy at the moment, or it cannot happen because there's no space for us to be. And in my situation, for example, I have to do eurythmy outside or in a tent because my room is gone. It needs to be used for the little cohorts, which all need their space. And it's challenging for us. And so there's always the question, well, how do we adapt to this new challenge, or do we just quit? Or there's strong sentiments out there that we should not do eurythmy outside and never do it online. I mean, there's all these questions coming up these days.
Yeah, thank you. So to the first, for me, the easiest access to bring eurythmy to all people of today is that I integrate eurythmy in almost every lecture I give. Because our life forces, our regeneration capacities are so harmed in our days by environmental factors, by emotional factors, by stress factors. When we look at Corona, for example, then we see that the majority of humanity is focusing to the virus, as if the virus would cause the disorder. The virus gives the body the chance to receive the virus and to produce the disorder. It is the body, our own body, who is incorporating the virus. It is not the virus attacking, the majority of people. For example, I checked before our course the German numbers. We had, since Corona pandemic was known, today 9,267 people who died from or with Corona. And most of these people beyond 70 years. But 232,082 were tested as Corona positive. But no one knows how many of these people really have symptoms, because they do not need treatment. They even do not know, because they have no symptoms, that they were positive. What does this mean? And we have, maybe I need to stop my Outlook, and I hope I will not lose. No, I think it worked so that we have not the disturbance. So what do I want to say is, of course, if an infection comes, we know there is virus, there are bacteria, there are reasons, and then physical treatment is orienting particularly to this physical aggressor. But what we do neglect, and what I miss, therefore I wrote this article about corona pandemic from an integrative medical point of view. What I miss totally is that with the same clarity, the health professionals and the politicians are saying, what can you do to make you less receptive for the virus so that you produce no symptoms, although it is affecting you for a time and then you overcome it, like other virus infections we do each year. Each season we overcome virus attacks, knowing or not knowing. Only when it creates symptoms we know about. If not, we don't know about. So we are resistant, we are resilient. We have enough forces of resiliency. And then there is another level. We know today from relationship research, from resiliency research, negative feelings are destabilizing the immune system. So some people are receptive for the virus because they have fear. We have a panic of fear. And that makes people receptive for the virus. And it should be said, we should not make people more fearful than normal. So this is another reason why we can be receptive for this virus. And our own spiritual identity plays a huge role. If people have trust in their destiny, they know I will get those diseases which are integrated in the course of my destiny. And if not through this virus, I will get another thing, because my life experiences are belonging to me. So a deep trust in destiny is also a power of resiliency. Trust in God, trust in your spiritual guidance, trust in your own spiritual forces. So these are the so-called resources of resiliency, the three most important ones. But then there is also a fifth one, and that is your spiritual orientation, that you know some people die already in childhood, other people have long lives, and in the course of reincarnation and destiny, there is a balance of all sorts of experiences. So also from your worldview, you can give yourself other perspectives. And I say this because I will not neglect that the virus is a reality, but I know from my own medical experience and my own health studies throughout my life and my own personal experiences, how important it is to know about what makes me resilient. And our environment, with all this electrosmog, with all the nutrition factors who are not healthy, are disturbing the regeneration activity of the etheric. And the enormous fears to lose the job, to have partner problems, there are so many reasons to live with negative feelings today. And many, many people have not yet found a healthy self-identification. They do not know where they are coming from and where they are going. They are still searching and losing inner balance from time to time. And this is in our days so understandable. And therefore, I think each person needs today meditation, meditative tools, and Eurythmy. And I know some people who say we cannot meditate, but Eurythmy is great. This is for me a body meditation I do. And that really helps me. So how you do is up to each one, of course. But I think without an inner compass, an inner orientation, little exercises in which you show to yourself, I do something for my higher being within this body, out of my own will, out of my total free own will. I do it not because I shall, I do it only because I want, because I experience my humanity in doing this. And I will strengthen my humanity throughout my biography and not minimize it. So when you ask me, I recommend the occupation with Eurythmy to each person. And particularly, of course, to teachers and health professionals, because they have another expression, they radiate more humanity when they interact with their students, with colleagues, with other people. They are more their own when they do this. So I always need to be a bit careful not to praise it too much. So that's just maybe. I'm so grateful that I met Eurythmy already from early childhood on. From my third life year on, I did Eurythmy, and I will not stop before until I die, I'm sure, to do it and to share my experiences with those who want to listen. Yeah, and therefore the last question is already answered. If I have to make the decision either to stop doing Eurythmy or to do it outdoor, I'm happy to go outdoor and do my Eurythmy outdoor. And when I have the desire to learn more about Eurythmy or to learn exercises which are good for Corona pandemic, we have now many videos in which Corona pandemic exercises 5 or 10 or 12 are shown, what we can particularly do to strengthen our immune system, primarily based on the vowels, which support directly this inner resiliency. Then, of course, it is much better to look at a video than to have nothing, because you can learn from the video and then do it total live and not virtual by your own. So for me, it is, of course, best case to do it indoor, but with fresh air coming in before you do. So in a good aired, nice room with full concentration, that is beautiful. And then afterwards, a little time even to relax. But between this archetype and nothing, I would do any compromise. That's how I see it. And I do not know any Steiner quotation in which he would forbid to do Eurythmy only in closed rooms and would not allow to do it outdoor. So by the way, I really need to say that.
Thank you so much for answering all our questions. I think I give it over to either Mi-young or Mary right now.
Yes, thank you, Michaela. I have one question from the participant. And she had two questions, but the second one seems already answered. So this one is, which workbook do you recommend to study the movement and characteristics and development of the organs? Do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, the best, you need to look. There are, I can check the author because I have a German translation of this English author, which is the best embryology book I know. But an anthroposophic book, I do not know if it's translated into English. There is one from an anthroposophic anatomy professor who wrote, after his retirement, an anthroposophic book on anatomy with very helpful drawings. But I learned, of course, from mainstream books because they show the most of the pictures, and there are even videos today. You just need to check in the internet in which you can see the growing movements of certain birds and animals. So one knows today there are beautiful videos showing in a time shortened, of course not so long months and 9 months and whatever, so very shortened, but all the main processes, the growing movements. And I would just see that. And then when you have seen, then use your own imagination and look in anatomy books, a picture, and try to bring this picture into movement. How did it become and how will it go on? So I check this embryological book, I come back immediately.
So we have a few questions coming up. So when she comes back, you can actually turn your video audio on after this one and ask her directly.
This is Cave Moore. And this is translated from English, so it must be available. And it shows each organ system beautifully in its becoming. And describes also the forming forces in a way that you can firmly imagine the invisible man. Yeah? You see proliferation, that is growth. You see differentiation, that is the astral. And you see integration, that is the eye organization. I learned this from embryology, that these systems of forces are throughout this embryological development active. But Renate Thomas she is a physician, or was a physician, she died, but Angelika Jaschke was very active helping her to publish 2 books on anatomy for therapeutic eurythmists. Renate Thomas, Thomas. And these books are including all her courses she gave over years in Stuttgart in the therapeutic eurythmy training. And she was a röntgenologist and knew all the organs through and through. And it was her passion to teach therapeutic eurythmists the organ understanding, how each organ is performed out of liquid and movement, and then brought to rest finally by the physical organization. So when you want to study, you can even take the German book and use the pictures. And if someone knows German, then you can have little translations, drafts. I can highly recommend. But this book from Rohn, from this professor, sorry, this is also maybe in English. I think this was translated into English. So you will find it. That's a beautiful book with all the anthroposophic aspects, but based on exact anatomic and physiological knowledge of today.
Yes, it is translated as functional morphology.
Yeah, beautiful.
So one of the questions was teaching children outside compared to teaching online, I believe.
You know, the problem, I understand well that eurythmy should be taught inside, particularly in childhood and youth, because eurythmy brings you a bit out. And if you are outdoor, you are more out than when you are indoor. Yeah, and all the pedagogical eurythmy exercises are supporting healthy incarnation primarily. And this is easier indoor. But of course, it depends also how you do it. Yeah, you can, I would avoid exercises and poems which bring children enormously out of themselves. Yeah, you can choose subjects and also music which has a more foaming and calming down character, or you go more into rhythms or in social interactions. So you can, I'm happy to use the life process. You know, we have this outdoor problem. First, you open up that this is possible and better than nothing. Second, you have to work with the question how to adapt my eurythmy ideals and goals for this age to these particular children when I go outdoor. This is an adaptation question. You should not just do the same, you know, then you have neglected healthy life processes. You need to adapt to the new situation. And then you observe what is nourishing best. How can you cope best? How look the children best? And then you can create your limits, how long you do, maybe 2 sections shorter is better than 1 big hour, or the other way around. You know, you set certain limits and borders for this outdoor experiment, and then you maintain, then eurythmy can maintain in school. You know, that is the goal, that we do not lose it, and that it can grow and reproduce in the children because they love it.
So we have another question about evolutionary sequence, the 12 consonants, if you have any experience or thoughts about it.
Yeah, the evolutionary sequence is very important when we want to help a person. So when we do it out of therapeutic reasons, then I recommend it when I have the impression that a person needs consonants, because the relationship with the environment, the awareness, the sensitivity is disturbed. Because when you do consonants, then your mental aura becomes encouraged, on the one hand, to make your body more able to connect with the environment and to become more awake and more sensitive. And on the other hand, it helps the child to understand the environment better, because the consonants are showing certain activities. And the evolutionary sequence, when you do this, you know, for those who don't know, it starts with the B, and then it goes into the M, and then it goes into the D and brings to rest. Then it reactivates in the N, and then it is rhythmized through and through with the R, and then beautifully shaped through with the L, and then then G, then comes a new impulse. After this harmony comes the J, the G, and then the H, and then the F, and then S, H, and T. So it is 4 times 3 consonants who are more connected with one another. And when you take the whole sequence, then you have the archetype of a healthy development from the beginning, taking a little substance or an intention and then starting something up to this final, I have done. And I have now a new stability. I have reached stability. The evolutionary sequence is not the same as the 7 life processes. It is only consonants, and it is the process of development in its main stages. But the life processes are, of course, going through the whole thing. This is an extra theme. For me, the evolutionary sequence is something we access deeper and deeper with the 7 life processes. Then we understand the evolutionary sequence better and better. But it's not the same activity at all. But we would need to do it, so then I could show it. Yeah. But those who know about, I'm sure they can understand, or you have particularly to re-question what you think I should explain, because it's very complex, this theme.
All right, thank you, Michaela. So that will be our next topic of conference. So we have about 10 more minutes for questions. So one is, do you have a sequence of characteristic sounds or sound groups for the 7 life processes?
You mean if there is? Yeah, for example, when you go into the life processes in form of gestures, then it's clear that the first life process is the A. It's just the opening. And when I describe the process of adaptation, I do the M. Yeah, then I adapt. I make myself familiar with it. So the second life process, when I would be asked or forced to name a sound, I would say it's the M. And nourishment, that is, for example, sh, 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 sh. To fill with ingredients. But one can also imagine, yeah, but for me, the sh, this filling with substance, with air, with what is a healthy nutrition, yeah, when everything is well worked through. And for this, the sh can be a good archetype. But then to the fourth life process is, of course, the G, to create clear borders, to say, here is where I'm ending. And maintenance, I think the T is a good maintenance sound. And growth, I would say the L, to go beyond. You go so far when you do a beautiful L. And reproduction, F, to let go. That is the wisdom of life, to let free, to let go, to know the secrets of life. Then you let live. Yeah. A person who knows the secrets of life lets other beings live. Yeah, to live and to let live, that is the secret of life, and that is the F.
Yes, that is so wonderful. With the F, the Steiner said, know that you know.
Yes, beautiful, isn't it?
So, yeah, related.
You really admire wisdom, and you have it, you donate it, you live in freedom and let other people's free.
So one other question is it possible to do therapeutic eurythmy with individual patients online? And she said online sessions only.
I do not understand the question. Sorry, can you repeat? What do you mean?
Do you think that it's possible to do therapeutic eurythmy with a patient by online only?
What does it mean, 09?
So you never met this, my interpretation is you never met this client before. So you haven't worked with
online, you know,
online.
I didn't understand you acoustically, sorry.
Online,
Online,
yes.
Online I understand. But online you can see the person. So if you have a new patient online, then you see me now, although not all did know me, but now you know me a little bit at least. Yeah, why not to start online? This is better than nothing. But as soon as a real encounter is possible, I would stop the online. And that is my problem, that people find it more comfortable. They have not to travel, they have not to do da 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 da. Yeah, and immediately we are in wrong customs. And that is, I would fight against. But when I have the option to do it with a new patient only in 6 months, or I can start right away, I would start right away and see if it works. You know, I would do the 7 life process. I would open up to this possibility. I would give this person a chance. We both would chat about if this is nourishing and meaningful or not. And then we would make a clear program in what framework we would go ahead and in what rhythms we will meet again and show up again by Zoom or whatever. And if this works well, I would go on, and if not, I would stop and say, let us wait until we meet. With children, it's different. There I would teach the parents so that they shall do it with the children. And this we can then observe via Zoom. If the child-parent interaction or teacher interaction is good. And children, I would not start without adults online. But that's just how I would do it. Without an adult who is then training with the child. So I show exercises a child shall do, the parent and the child, if I have a live situation. But if it's online, I would show it only to the parents and then ask them to do it with the children. And then I invite them that I observe them doing it so that I can see how the adult is doing it with the child. And then again, with the adult, discuss possible changes. Does this make sense?
Yes. So we have some thoughts about tone eurythmy with intervals in relationship with life processes. You know, some colleagues are experiencing that. And I remember you wrote beautifully on the Eurythmy therapy book written by Leah van der Pols and Annemarie Bachelin.
Yeah.
They published it. And do you want to elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, it's beautiful that the 7 intervals are really showing the life processes from another aspect. You know, the sequence, also music works in time, but of course we have here the astral body in front, yeah, who works with differentiation. We differentiate the tones, an interval has a gap in between. So it is the archetype of astrality when we have numbers and music, not the etheric. And therefore it is very nice to connect, because when we do tone eurythmy, we bring the healthy cosmic astrality via music, via the sound ether into the etheric body, and bring the physical body through the movement, which brings the lightness and reduces the heaviness of the physical body. So we invite the physical body to participate into the cosmic music in such a way that the physical is elevated through the movement, through the lightness into the etheric, and via the tone etheric forces, the music is entering into the etheric and can stimulate the differentiation processes in the physical body through the etheric. So tone eurythmy is, for me, in our time, one of the most powerful future instruments of eurythmy therapy, because many problems we have, inclusive cancer, are coming from a pathological separation of the astral from the etheric. This is trauma, this is shock, this is fear when you go out and are not really within yourself. And this is the whole Netflix industry and digital overload of videos, films, stories. You know, it pulls the astral out. And afterwards, the people feel empty. Therefore, they eat a lot to get down again in their bodies. And to compensate that is classical music and working with the intervals, balm for the human constitution. And for me, the intervals shape the tone etheric life processes. If you have the prime, this is that you are feeling yourself within yourself. Yeah, it's like a seed which is not yet living. It's like a grain which is not yet in connection with water and earth and air. But when you do the second, then you open up. So the first life process is the second. And the last life process, reproduction, is the octave. So you have the 7 life process between the second interval and the 8th. And this is the 7. And then you hear the life processes when you have these intervals. The lifeless seed, still lifeless yet, and then the opening, and then I do not know the English words from the intervals, but you know them. Then you go through. And you can find in the quart, it's beautiful how it comes out.
Thank you so much. So it was so rich and full with your wisdom, and so many questions are answered because we had the burning discussions from different groups as we met before. So thank you so much, Michaela, for coming to our first open house under Indo-Pacific Health Association event. And we hope to invite you again with our audience.
If it's helpful, I'm happy to do that. And I hope I found the right words to make myself understood, and that I did not cause too many problems you have then to solve by working with the life processes.
No, I think you set us up for lots of further study. Thank you so, so much.
Yeah, and we made it without break.
We did, I know. It was too interesting to stop.
So I wish all the dear people I could now not see all the best, and I hope that you will fall in love a little bit with Eurythmy if you have not yet had the chance to do so. All the best, and maybe we meet again. Yes,
Thank
bye-bye.
you, thank you. Thank you so much.